Was it not just freaking yesterday? Or actually, well, actually I did it yesterday, and there was trouble uploading YouTube videos. It took like days to upload it, so I just canceled it and said I'll do it in the morning, which was this morning. And that was the one about another day, another gold paper Ponzi scheme blows up in client's face. Now there's not a chance in hell, you would think normally, that the very next day, literally, because again, I did it yesterday technically, I'd be reading you another one. Like, you know, no. And there's a little confirmation in here that the information I get, my opinions on what I think's gonna happen is actually right, and I'll get to that in a second. 4 men were scheduled to be arraigned Wednesday before a federal magistrate in Miami, Florida, on charges of conspiracy to commit mail and wire fraud in connection with a precious metals bullion investment scheme. The indictment was brought by federal and state agencies, including the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Florida, the FBI, the U.S. Postal Inspector Service, and the State of Florida's Office of Financial Regulation. Arthur John Schlecht, 53, of Boone, North Carolina, but formerly of Miami-Dade. Bart Gomer, 66, of Sunrise, Florida. Ricardo George Padron, 52, and Carlos Rodriguez, both of Miami, were accused of engaging in a long-term conspiracy to commit fraud through their operation of 3 corporations, which they list the corporations: Gullion Bold Tracking Group, WJS Funding, doing business as Capital Asset Management, and Certified Inc., doing business as Certified Clearing. These businesses claim to be investment brokerage firms offering investors the opportunity to invest in gold, silver, platinum, and palladium bullion, which would be stored for the investors in depository vaults, aka allocated accounts. In our facility, we got you covered. The indictment claims that instead of purchasing the physical bullion as promised, the defendants, quote, merely established investment accounts for Capital Asset Management, which was their company, with a broker/dealer in London, and used the account to purchase, wait for it, derivative contract investments in precious metals, but never actually purchasing any physical metal for the investors. Done. Let me pick that up before I forget about that and it flies out. Now, what I said at the beginning, my opinion that later on we're going to find out, example, SLV, GLD, whatever, any of these places, it doesn't matter, that claim they are purchasing physical gold or silver. It's as good as, literally good as gold. It's in our vaults, it's in an allocated account, it's covered, we're good, until the sheet is raised up, exposing our lie, exposing our frauds. And I said it before, which is why I said that this is confirming, you know, for myself, basically, that, you know, when I offer my opinion as to what I'm thinking, why I'm thinking it, what I read that made me think it, etc., it's validating, actually, that what old J Snip said is actually appearing to be true, even though it was just my opinion. That's good for me to know, because at least I know I'm not reading bozo material that's deceiving me, because you do come across that, and then if you keep spitting it out yourself to your subscribers or whoever, you're basically the boy who cried wolf over and over again until people say this guy's full of crap. I don't want to be that guy. That's why I try to really grasp what I'm reading, study it, research it before I open my fat, stinking mouth. And everybody should do that. I mean, that's how you should do everything in life, technically. You know, don't just rush right into something and say, oh, it's true, whatever. So, it touched on those things that I've been thinking. This is actually a real life example now. Not old J Snip 4's speculation or opinion. That these places that claim they took in all this money, and I love to use the SLV in my example. Hey, we got, you know, millions and millions and millions of ounces of paper silver. Well, it's real silver, and we really have it in our warehouse. You're going to get a paper in return that claims you own X number of ounces worth of silver, or shares. Because again, each ounce of silver represents a share. Or vice versa, each share that they issue you represents an ounce of silver. And I always said, now what if they're claiming they bought all this gold and silver and they never have to show it to anybody? They don't have to prove they even have it. Therefore, and again, it was my opinion at the time, therefore, they must be taking everybody's money, never buying the gold or silver bullion, or maybe a tiny, tiny fraction of a smidgen of an amount just to satisfy some regulator or something in the very beginning or whatever. Ultimately, they have nothing as far as gold and silver, physical gold and silver goes. And they've been taking everybody's money this entire time. I gave a perfect example a while ago, and I'll give it to you again. And I'm gonna use the damn SLV and GLD again because I guarantee they're doing it. I guarantee this example I just read you is also, it also applies to the SLV and GLD. And my example was that all you have to do is simply read the freaking prospectus of the GLD and SLV. I actually read it a long time ago in one of my videos somewhere off in YouTube land. Probably 2+ years ago if I had to guess. 2 years, 1 year and a half, something. And I basically mentioned the key parts in the prospectus. That basically tells you, if you invest in this SLV, we reserve the right to close it down at any time. You will never see any physical gold and silver because we will, quote, sell it off, and whatever the market price is that day, we will give our shareholders in return. We don't have to give you a reason why we shut the SLV or GLD down. We can just do it. It says it, black and white, right in your face. Just like the end of Willy Wonka, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. You read the prospectus of SLV and GLD, Kappa Kappa, etc., etc., etc. You lose. Good day, sir. Yeah, but it says right here, I got a paper contract that is signed that I own this gold and silver. You lose, sir. Good day. And that's what you're gonna get from the CFTC, from the SLV themselves, the GLD, the government. As you just saw again, the court system has sided with the bankers. They can steal your money to use it to pay off one of their other banker friends, then file bankruptcy, knowingly doing this in advance to take your money to do it, and it is completely legal. So, SLV, in my example, doesn't have any gold and silver physically anywhere. Again, such a tiny amount that it's, you might as well throw it away. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't amount to anything when you realize how many shares they've sold over the years to God knows how many millions of investors. So they take that. They've been, this entire time that SLV has been around, the entire time, freaking bus blocks the whole damn freaking roadway like an idiot. And anyways, now that I freaking squeaked through there, they take everybody's money. This is my example. They're taking everybody's money. Never once spent any real money whatsoever buying. Let me reword that because I don't want to confuse anybody. They never spent any money buying physical gold and silver for the GLD and for the SLV. We're gonna just focus on SLV. They never spent any money buying SLV like they were required to in order to sell that paper contract to the bozo population, sheeple, which is what the law states. The law states if you're selling basically one paper contract or one share of your stock equals 1 ounce of silver, then you have to purchase that amount of silver physically, store it somewhere, and then you can issue stock certificate or shares on these. Oh, okay. And when they first started, let's just say, okay, regulators and everyone else that wants to look, we just opened the doors today. We're gonna start taking money today, and here's our warehouse full of, you know, $1 million worth of silver and a couple $1 million worth of gold. There it is in the warehouse, and now we can start selling. Okay, we're satisfied. We're signing off as the regulators and government. We are happy with what we saw. Have a nice day. You will never see us again, which means from that day forward, sure, you had to come up with $1 million for silver and a couple million for gold. Again, it's just my example. That pleased the regulators, that you have a warehouse, that you have gold and silver stored in the warehouse. They're walking away. Now you can start selling tens and hundreds of millions of these contracts that represent tens and hundreds of millions of the actual ounces of silver that you never went out and bought, because after you please the regulator, now it's time to just take 100% in from the people and never go out and buy the silver. So essentially, whatever the price of silver is for the last God knows how many years the SLV's been around, I don't know. It's been around several years. You know, not a whole heck of a long time, but long enough to rape and pillage and long enough to create this false amount of gold and silver out there as if it really exists. Again, to keep the prices down, and yet it doesn't matter because the prices still are refusing to budge right now. And that paper claim that they own it, they don't own it. So they've been taking in 100% of your money the entire time, and for every contract they give you, not contract, but every share they give you, they're supposed to be going out and buying that physical 1 ounce and storing it in a warehouse, even though they're never going to give you the silver, they're never going to give you the gold. Doesn't matter. At least you know they have it, so that when the day comes, should you need to check out of your stock, your shares, and try to make a couple bucks, you should be able to sell your share just like you would any company. Someone else will buy it, whatever. And if no one's around to buy it, at least they have the silver in their vaults that they could go in the open market and sell, and then give me my money at that day's market price. But what if they don't have the silver? Then they can't go out in the market and sell it to give you your that day's share. Or can they? Again, my example I used before. They take your money this entire time, stockpiling it. Cash, just full of cash. God knows how many millions or billions of dollars, whatever it is that they've got from people. It'd have to be billions, at least a couple, 2-3 billion. So when the SLV first came out, and again, I don't know the year or what silver was at, but let's just say silver was $10 an ounce. And it went all the way up to 50. The entire time it was 10, 11, 12, 13, 15, 20, all the way up to $50 an ounce. People have been buying those shares. New customers, everything. I want to get into the SLV. My 401k doesn't allow me to buy physical, so they do allow me to get in the SLV, so I think I'll get into that, etc. And they're going to lose it too. So from $10 to $50, they've been buying their shares of SLV. Meanwhile, the SLV has not been buying anything physical at all. Just been keeping the money the whole time. Yet they claim on paper, well, we have, you know, 100 million shares out there, so we have 100 million ounces of silver out there. So the whole world and the market and regulators think they have this, therefore, okay, fine. You can buy and sell those stocks for today's market price. No one's going to question it, because you're not selling or buying the physical silver. They are only selling the physical share that represents the silver. So they've been collecting this money the entire time, and then one day in old J Snip 4's future vision of the price of silver and gold getting absolutely destroyed one last time. I still have that gut feeling that it will it's supposed to happen. Even if it doesn't, I apologize in advance if it doesn't, and that'll be a good thing, because then we can just experience it going up. But then again, it might be a better thing if they did crash it one more time, so you and I can get in one last time and buy a bunch. So if they destroy the gold, because again, the SLV and GLD, even though the prospectus says we can basically shut it down for any kind of condition we feel was deemed necessary, if the market's not in trouble, there's no way they're going to just, oh, we're dismantling the SLV and GLD today for no reason, just what blah blah blah, we feel like doing it. That's not going to fly. There has to be a reason. So if they destroy the price of gold and silver, oh my God, SLV is not very happy with what we're seeing. We're back down to $9 silver, $10 silver. This is not good. We're dismantling the SLV at today's market price, which is $10 a share. Boom, cut the checks out to everybody that's a shareholder. SLV is gone. We're null and void. We sold off all the silver and gold we had in our vaults at today's market price of $10. So here's your check at $10 a share. Have a nice day. The shareholders say, well, man, at least I got $10 a share back. At least I didn't go to nothing, but damn, that sucks. Meanwhile, they never went out and sold any gold and silver. They just claimed that they did. And here's the money. They used the money, part of the money that they've been collecting all these years, when it was 10, 12, 15, $20, 25, 50, 40, 35, 30, all the way back down. They've been collecting that money the whole time. So price averaged or cost averaged, they've been taking 100% of the money in the whole time without ever buying gold and silver. How do you lose that? So again, when it was $50 an ounce, they were still pulling in money. Again, you have a 401k and all these things, you're investing, every paycheck is going into that, getting you more shares constantly. So they're constantly selling shares. So they were selling them at $50, $40, $30, $20, the whole 9 yards. They are massively up, and they only have to come up with $10 a share to pay everybody off when the day comes that they have to destroy the SLV. So it is, in my opinion, that we should see, and again, if they lose control and this doesn't happen, then this whole damn thing blows up their face, the SLV gets exposed, and they will not have their way, and I would love for that to happen. Just to see these bastards scramble and start sweating and crying tears as they realize, uh-oh, we were trying to destroy the market one last time so we can get out of the SLV, and it just blew up in our face and we can't do it. Oh my God, what are we gonna do? I'd love to see that. But if the bankers can have their way, it's in my opinion that they'll destroy gold and silver, maybe even below $10 an ounce silver. Could you imagine $2, $3, $4, $5 an ounce silver? That's enough for the SLV. We're out of here. This is destruction on the markets. We're gone. Prospectus gives us the right. Have a nice day. Thank your lucky stars. You shareholders that it didn't go to 0. It's going down to 5. Take it for what it's worth. Have a nice day. And again, all those years of collecting money, they've been sitting on it the whole time. They never went out and bought gold and silver. Therefore, them dismantling it is completely fraudulent because they're keeping the money. And when the price absolutely skyrockets after that takes place, everyone will be crying foul that they got screwed and it was on purpose, but you're not going to have any proof because you were not allowed to see the gold and silver purchasing of the SLV. And if so, they'll probably give you fake, bogus crap to begin with. So that's it for today. Another day, another gold Ponzi scheme exposed. And it was tied to derivatives. People bought stuff that they thought was backed by gold, had the gold stored, they never even purchased it. As I always say when I read these kind of stories, do you think for one freaking second, and these guys, no one even, who ever heard of this group? Nobody. These are nobodies. That's why they're being busted, of course. Again, they're not part of the club, so now naturally you get to hear the news about it. Oh, we got some bad guys today. Some fraudulent financial bad guys trying to trick our investor populace, and that's not right. Unless the bankers do it and absolutely rape and pillage compared to what these little guys do. But we caught them anyways, nonetheless. And you saw who was involved in that. The U.S. Postal Service, the head of the Florida blah blah blah, and the federal this and the FBI. John Corzine, MF Global, Citigroup, JP Morgan, HSBC, fraudulent, anything? Nah. I'll quote the Department of Justice. Not enough evidence. Drop the charges on Goldman Sachs. Not enough evidence. Have a nice day. Right. I'm sure I'll be doing another video. I'm sure there'll be more of these to come, and I'm sure as more of these to come, it'll start waking up other people drastically to get their sorry butts out of paper and into precious metals. It happens every single time in history. I watched a video today that someone sent to me that was fantastic. He says, I think it was a he, says fast forward to 13 minutes and 10 seconds, and it talks about the coming problems, collapse, scenario in the beginning. And then there's an old lady and an old man standing there being interviewed. I think she was from Germany, by the way. Lived through the problems over there when their system collapsed. And she was 8 years old, and her sister was somewhere around the same age, 9 or 10 or 7 or whatever. And they had been devastated by what happened. They had nothing. They were left with nothing. And she said right off the bat, the only advice I can give you right now, and it's the best advice, is to buy physical gold and silver. This lady is probably 80 years old or more. Best advice I can give you, buy gold and silver. Me and my sister, my family, we actually had to jump onto a moving train to get us out of the town we were in. It was so bad there. And when they finally decided to just get off the train, they were starving. Her and her sister, I don't know what she said about her parents, where they were, what happened to them, I don't know. But her and her sister got on this train, jumped onto it, illegally, on a moving train, got off the thing, found a farmhouse with people living in it, knocked on the door. Excuse me, please, my sister and I, we're extremely hungry. Can we have something to eat? Please help us. The lady that answered the door, which was the wife of the farmer that lived there, she's telling the whole story, and I'm just repeating it. He was basically, no, we can't help everybody. We don't have the extra food and this and that. We can't do it. We can't do it. She's like, honey, please, they're children. You know, they're starving to death, for God's sakes. Just give them something. So he's like, all right, give them some bread and a piece of cheese each. And she said, man, now, you know, the lady who's 80 years old is like, yeah, we were so hungry. God, that bread and cheese we hadn't eaten in a couple days or so. It was fantastic to have something finally to eat. And she said something along the lines of someone had come and picked them up and took them away from the farm. It was hard for me to hear the thing. I was at work, and I couldn't listen to all of it at the time, and I didn't go back to finish. I saw the end, but I didn't go back to hear what I missed. And somewhere along the line, someone had to come in a car and pick them up. During this economic collapse, no one had money. Everyone was devastated. And she's like, we couldn't believe this gentleman and his wife and kids came up there and picked us up in a vehicle, a car, which was unheard of at the time, because everyone was devastated. No one had gas, no one had money, no one had cars anyway. It was just terrible. And his secret, basically, he had gold and silver stored aside, so that when all this happened and everything got destroyed in price, even though it got destroyed in price, nobody had money to pay for anything, even though these fire sale deals were everywhere, because those people selling had no money and had to raise money. Guys like him, who had the gold and silver, just a little bit is all it took, a little tiny amount, bought himself a car. That's what she said. And she ended the video again by saying gold and silver is the only thing that can protect you. Nothing else. And then the old man in the background kicks in. It's the only thing that's real money. Something like that, he says. These guys this lady and this man, I don't know if they were married, what they were, 80-something years old at least, maybe 90, I don't know. My wife's uncle's 90, and I'm trying to gauge. He's in pretty good shape, but somewhere in the 80s. She said it in the beginning, she said it in the middle, and she said it in the end. The only advice and the best advice, and it's one simple thing to save you from what I see coming. Same thing we experienced. As a child, I experienced it. Gold and silver. I can only say the same thing 1,000 million trillion times. Even if they destroy the prices again, one more time. If they do, you better find a credit card, you better find a way of getting a loan, you better find some way of getting a large amount of cash in your hands urgently to capitalize on that final push down to buy all you possibly can. That is if that even happens. We could be at the bottom here at 27, 28, 26, and then we just can't struggle any lower than that, the powers that be or whatever, and okay, this thing's just gonna have to kick loose, and then it starts going up again. It could go that way. So that's why I tell people, keep buying now, but have a little, if you've already got some and you're satisfied with what you got as far as silver goes, you may try to make sure there's a little nest egg or a get out of jail free card called a credit card that you can swipe at moment's notice to capitalize on a crashing of gold and silver if it happens. All commodities will go through a crashing and then probably hyperinflation. Commodities are also gold and silver, by the way, because they are traded on the commodities market, and that piece of garbage is what sets the price every day. So we can get pissed off that they're manipulating, or we can look at it as a blessing in disguise and capitalize if they do it again. And believe me, I know they want to do it again. It's a question of, can they do it again? And they might. They may be able to. They control everything. I wouldn't put it past them. I'm actually expecting them to do it. I do have some credit cards on standby to make a large purchase when that day comes. If the day doesn't come, I'm still satisfied with what I've accumulated recently, in the last couple, 2-3 years. So that's it. Take care.